Hey guys, it's Dan back with another quick book review. I just finished last night The Enchanted by Rene Denfeld. The Enchanted is a book about a prison that is written in the style of magical realism. It is a contemporary novel. And for those of you who are not familiar with magical realism is like taking a real life scenario and kind of writing it with elements of magic or fantasy. So yeah, it's a whole different thing. Like, this is my first time really having read a magical realist book. But this book was told through the eyes of a death row inmate who used books to escape reality. Another cool, interesting thing you learn as you get into the story is that this same prisoner is also a mute. He cannot talk to anyone else. Now, there were quite a few characters in the book. There's a death row inmate named York. There is this guy that's referred to only as the Fallen Priest, and another character called the Lady, and there's a few other minor characters that are just not really that important, because they're just minor characters. Like, they don't have that big a role in the story. But the Lady is an investigator, and she is paid to investigate York's background to try to figure out if he should be on death row, or if maybe there's some other reason he can be released as a free man, or if he can just get a life sentence with no parole. Now this brings up the whole thing that you're going to see in this book, the whole dichotomy of guilt and innocence, and victims and criminals. This is where things get interesting, because I will admit this was a book that was very slow to start. It took me a little while of getting into this. I wasn't really sure that this book was for me, because I will admit, being that it's a new genre that I've never really experienced before, it was really slow to get into it. And I would have to say it took about maybe a quarter of the way in before things got interesting for me, where the lady's investigating York's background and she starts to unravel his past and kind of learn some interesting facts about his life and the way he was raised, and also some interesting things that she shares in common with him. This was the best part of the book. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because I really don't want to spoil it for you, because like I said, this was the best part of the book, was just learning the background of York and the Lady. Now, one of the things I noticed with this book, this is not a happy book. It takes place in a prison. I don't have any experience with jail or prisons, so I only have this world view of what I think it's like. So I can't verify and say, oh yeah, this is 100% spot on. This is what prison is like. For trigger warnings, there are rape is mentioned. It's hinted at. They don't go into too much detail about it, but there is a certain character that is raped, and they mention it periodically throughout the story. Also, there are there is the whole, the death sentence, and there is prison violence and drugs and stuff like that. But like I said, I don't have any real-world experience with this stuff. But I'm thinking it was a good representation of what I think prison life is probably like. So that added and made it more enjoyable just based on that. But so I mentioned it's not really a happy book. There tends to be this whole, theme of tragedy, sorrow, loss, and just loneliness. It seems like a good majority of the characters, everybody had some form of tragedy or something that made them a tragic character, and they all kind of shared this tragedy or this loneliness, and I found that to be interesting too. So it's not one of those books that's going to be like, oh, it has a happy ending. But I will say, like, it mentions in one of the blurbs about it, it says it features transcendence in an unlikely place. That's all I'm going to say about that. But the biggest thing that I really appreciated about this, it was beautifully written. The author did have a tendency to write very well. Like I said, even describing, and she doesn't go too much into detail into scenes, but just enough so you kind of get the idea. You know what happened without her having to lay it all out on the line for you. So, I felt like maybe a little bit more detail like would have made it more interesting and more entertaining. But given what it is, I did give this a rating of a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was just okay. Like I said, it's my first time experiencing magical realism. So I'm going to throw it out there if you guys want to check this book out for yourselves. Of course, as always, for those of you in the U.S., I will have a link to Amazon to pick up a copy of that. For those of you outside the U.S., I have the book depository link. As I always say, I appreciate any and all purchases you guys have been making through these links. It helps me out because I'm not sponsored by YouTube. I'm not sponsored by any book companies or anything. So I'm just kind of a man all by myself doing these reviews. It's all just me having to do all this stuff. So yeah, I appreciate every little bit of help that you guys put in by purchasing books. If you came here looking for more book reviews, please hit that subscriber button. I'm going to forewarn you, I do tend to do more comic book graphic novel reviews than regular fiction reviews, but I'm trying to change that with this coming year. But it is what it is. Like I said, I'm trying to work at it. I know that not all of you are interested in all the stuff I upload. But, if you want to know when I upload further videos, please hit that notification bell. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. Till next time, later.